Do you know why you're here? Do you know the story about the hunter? Well, there was a hunter. He was in the woods looking for food. And he couldn't find any. And it was hot and he was weary and he decided to take a rest. So he sat down by a tree. But his eyes fixed on something right in front of him. And he saw it was a skull. A human skull. And he bent down and he picked it up and he held it in his hand and he said, "What brought you here, friend?" And the skull spoke to him. And he said, "Talk brought me here. Talk will bring you here as well." The man got so scared, he dropped the skull and he started to run. He ran and ran. He was on his way back to the village. And then he got to the king and he burst in and he said, King, I have found a skull, a talking skull. And the king said, "What? A talking skull? Come with me, I'll show you. I'll show you this talking skull." "I do not have time to go with you to see this talking skull. But I will send my guard, and he will go with you. And if you are lying, he will take his sword and chop off your head." I will show the guard. You will see. He will see the skull talking." So they went back through the woods, and it was very, very hot. And he found the skull, and he picked it up, and he said, "Skull, what brought you here, friend? What brought you here?" But the skull was silent. And so the hunter just kept asking the skull, begging it to talk. "Skull, talk to me. Won't you talk to me? What brought you here? What brought you here?" But the skull said nothing. Finally, the guard was so angry. He had to follow the king's orders. He took his sword, he raised it up, and he went chopping off the hunter's head, and it fell onto the ground and rolled right next to the skull. And no sooner than the guard had left when the skull started to talk to the hunter's head. And it said, "What brought you here, friend?" And the hunter's head sadly said, "Talk brought me here. Talk brought me